This podcast is sponsored by ebookit.com, self-publishing solutions for the independent author and small press. Visit us today at ebookit.com.
Welcome to the Toastmasters podcast, the official podcast of Toastmasters International. Hello, everybody. This is Greg Gazin.
And I'm Ryan Levesque.
Ryan, the explosion of the online and virtual formats has created new roles, and it's opened the doors for new opportunities for communicators and leaders. And our guest today, well, she seems determined to take that to new heights. Ryan, who are we speaking with today?
Our guest today is Amanda Mae Gray. She is a Toastmaster, virtual event host, and engagement expert. Amanda Mae is an active member in two clubs in the Atlanta area, Toast of Cobb and Speakers Roundtable Advanced. Amanda Mae is also a model, spokesmodel, and actress. She hosts the Savvy Skills for Speakers video series on YouTube, as well as the Yes You May live stream podcast. Amanda Mae, welcome to the Toastmasters podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We are thrilled to have you, Amanda Mae. Our first question for you today is I'd like to know, how did you get started in virtual events hosting?
Ooh, that is a good question. Well, it started with the pandemic and Toastmasters. We all had to switch to going online and being on Zoom. And I am a bit of a leader naturally. So I just kind of grabbed the opportunity and started to run with it and figure it out. And then I saw that there was something more, that I could host these events that had to be virtual now and just run the show. So I said yes to every opportunity that came my way to do so and just kept working on it and get better and better.
For those who may not be specifically familiar with virtual event hosting, how do some of the skill sets differ for a virtual event host compared to an in-person event host?
Good question. So in person, you really got to interact with that audience, right? But you can feel that energy. When you're virtual, you have to be more proactive about getting that energy out of people. So you have to come up with different ways to get them to engage. How can they raise their hand? How can they get physical? What can we do with the chat box to utilize it? But one thing that I really noticed that's different is that I'm actually acting more as a moderator in addition to an MC. So if I was out in person in a live event, I would just be hosting. I'd walk on stage at the beginning, introduce the next person coming, walk off stage. In a virtual land, the best way to be a host is to actually be active in the chat and highlighting things that the keynote speaker, the presenter, the workshop person is saying to reinforce what's happening virtually, but also to make sure that people are there, engaged, and feel permission to actually utilize the chat, ask questions, write down things that they thought were important as well. So that's something that I don't think as many people are currently doing, and a great opportunity if you do get the chance to be a virtual host. Definitely, absolutely utilize that chat during the presentations to help emphasize key points.
So true.
Yeah, so utilizing the chat, that's a great start. Can you share with us a couple other ideas when someone is in the position of hosting a virtual event? What are a couple other things that they can do to make sure it's going to be a lively, engaging experience for the attendees?
One thing I really like to do is start the whole thing off with music. So just like in person, you would have music when people are walking on, walking off. You can do that through YouTube and play music by just sharing the sound, especially if you're on Zoom. So I'll have subtle, like maybe some jazz if it's a morning TLI where we're all still trying to wake up and have our coffee. Or maybe if we did a talent show at Night One Night last December, I started off with some really high energy music that got people excited, got people going, and set that tone. So utilizing music, utilizing different sound effects, whether that's actual sound effects you play or if you just are like me and make sound effects while you're talking in general, that's a great option too. I like to do that. Yeah.
That's my sound effect.
Yeah, it works out quite well. But yeah, just keeping it lively and getting that energy set to where you want it to before everything starts. So I'll usually open up the meeting about 5 minutes in advance with some music going. I'll ask people to start engaging by putting in the chat where they're zooming in from. And I actually stumbled because one time I mistakenly said what part of your house you're zooming in from instead of where you were, in the world. And that got a big rise because everyone was like, oh, haha, I'm in the kitchen or I'm in the living room. And so that's a fun way to do it too, is just say, especially if you're, everybody's at locally in your own district maybe, but they might be in a closet. I mean, we have one girl, she's got to do her contest speeches in her laundry room closet. So it's just kind of a fun way to get a different set of interaction that most people aren't familiar with.
Was anyone zooming in from the bathtub?
Nobody admitted it. Let's put it that way.
So Amanda May, you mentioned about music. Of course, there are copyright considerations. You can't just use music from just anywhere.
Absolutely. You do want to be careful about that. You don't just want to think that any song you hear on the radio is free for you to use. What you do want to do is find royalty-free music. There are a bunch of different sites out there that have royalty-free music. Or if you are a YouTube creator, which means you put videos onto YouTube, in the YouTube creator suite of things, there's actually free music that you can use in there to put in your videos that is also royalty free, and you could utilize that as well.
I did a session on podcasting last week for a district in Virginia, and what I did is I contacted a friend of mine, Dan Gideon. He goes by D Giddy.
It's a great name.
Not the same as the other guy. And I actually got his permission to use his music, so they streamed it from SoundCloud.
Amanda May, we've been talking about the role of the host of virtual events, and I know you've also done some training for folks regarding being a participant at a meeting. So I'd like to ask, what are some ideas that you can share with our listeners to help them elevate the professionalism of their next on-screen presentation?
Oh, good question. Yes, there's a lot of things you can do. What you want to remember is it's all about what people can see, what they can hear, and then what you share. So just as if you were going into an interview or a business meeting, you still want to show up dressed the way you would want to. You want to make sure you have good lighting so that we can actually see your face and see your expressions. And you do want to make sure you have good audio so that we can hear you, because believe it or not, the most important thing about the virtual world is actually your audio. If you don't have good audio, then the camera isn't going to make too much of a difference. And if all else fails and you don't have the best connection at the time and you have to turn off your camera, but we can still hear you loud and clear, that's the most important thing. But to make sure you're really being a great audience member is to be sitting up straight in a nice, well-lit area, like I mentioned, but to also be actively showing that you're engaging. Your body language can do a lot just by nodding your head, taking notes, laughing, smiling, making sure you are reacting to what is being said to you instead of just tuned out, paying attention to your phone instead, and maybe playing solitaire.
So it sounds like, Amanda May, that you're applying some of your Toastmaster skills. And of course, that was going to be my next question is, what are some of the ways that you have applied some of your additional Toastmaster skills to be a better virtual event host, your podcaster, YouTuber, etc.?
Well, one of the big things is just being cognizant of the words that you're using and avoiding those filler words, of course. Nobody wants to hear, so, the double clutches. And if you pay attention and watch almost any YouTuber, listen to most podcasts, you will hear these things if they're not trained. We all see it. We see the people who have to be live and they don't know what they're doing and they get nervous. So really being cognizant and being an active participator in table topics or deciding to give an impromptu speech really makes a big difference and goes a long way towards being able to be on the fly, being present and hearing what's happening, but also be able to be responsive in a way that still makes you sound like a professional.
Well, Amanda May, you mentioned audio quality a few moments ago, and your audio quality is crystal clear, but I'm also noticing your verbal delivery is so pristine. So I am wondering, how did you discover Toastmasters? Why did you join? And how might Amanda May have shown up differently in the world before her Toastmasters experience?
How did I find Toastmasters? This is a good story. So glad you asked. As mentioned, I'm an actress as well as a model, and I kind of got stale in the acting world. Wasn't really sure what I was doing with it. If you've been in the acting world or the performance world at all, you know it's really tough to get through it. And I just needed a change. And I had done speech and debate in high school, so I was already familiar with giving speeches in competition. And I discovered there was competitions to speak in Toastmasters, and there was this fun thing called a humor competition. And I was like, well, I could do that. And so I ended up finding a club. I went to, I think I went to one club, and somebody actually recruited me to a different club. Went to that club. The next meeting after that, so I guess the third meeting I went to was their club humor competition. And they were like, you should compete. And of course, as a new Toastmaster, I was like, yeah, I should. That'd be great. Okay, great. You guys think I could do this? Awesome. Right. As any club would encourage somebody new to probably get involved. And so I did. And I won the club competition. So that was a little out of order that you're supposed to do. So a little bit of a rebel, unknown. I didn't know I was supposed to give normal speeches first.
Wow.
And I just kind of fell into it from there and just kept going, enjoyed it. I'd always been a speaker. I'd always been somebody who, did sales. I did commission sales for a long time. I was a bartender for a while when I transitioned, when I moved here to Atlanta. So talking to people was my thing, and putting me on stage was my thing. So that was a way for me to talk and be on stage at the same time. So I thought that was super cool. And here I am a couple years later, still doing it, heavily involved.
That's too funny because in my home club, my vice president of education, I did a speech and he said, Greg, that's a really good speech. You should give that next month in the humorous speech competition. I didn't know that entering a competition was an option. He never said anything about that. So my speech number 2, it might have been speech number 3, was a humorous speech. Oh.
That's fantastic. I'm glad that we had something in common there. It's kind of like when you go to a club and you're brand new and you do a table topic and then you win table topics. And then you find out after you've been in it a while that a lot of people win table topics the first time they do it when they show up to a club.
Sometimes people think it's rigged, but we just had a gentleman, we had a guest this past week, and he just did a phenomenal job. It just so happens. So Amanda May, I watched your interview with Anukul Vasudevan. Same last name as our 2017 world champ. I'm not sure if they're related or not. It was 7 minutes, of course, in true Toastmasters fashion. When you were interviewing him, you were talking about advocacy for millennials joining Toastmasters. What I'm curious to find out in your words are, what do you think are the benefits for millennials joining Toastmasters?
Yes, he's also a millennial, as am I. And we just noticed that there wasn't a lot of people our age in Toastmasters. And we both have gotten a lot out of it and realized one of the key things that I don't think we talk about enough as an organization is the mentorship and the networking. I have met so many people that I absolutely would not have met otherwise in the, the quote, normal world, dare I say, if it wasn't for Toastmasters. I have friends of all ages, of all walks of life. Anytime I meet somebody new coming into Toastmasters, I always advocate for them to get out of their own club, go do something at a district level, at an area level, go to the contest, meet other people, because I guarantee no matter what you're trying to do, there is somebody somewhere in your district or somebody who knows somebody in a district next door that is doing what you're trying to do and can help you get there or can give you some advice or guidance. So I think that's one of the really undersung heroes, dare I say, of Toastmasters. But also for millennials, we're on a cusp of a generation. We are saddled between, the old school analog world, like you might have mentioned before, and this new digital one where we grew up knowing how to rewind a VHS, but then we eventually got a cell phone. So we're kind of this in-between generation that can communicate in person, but because we got technology so soon, we aren't quite as good as doing it as some others maybe. So I think Toastmasters gives you the ability to learn how to really put your words together in a more structured format that gives you that authority to speak with purpose. I know as a younger person that I often, especially in my days of selling, would be like, oh, she's young. Maybe she doesn't know much about what she's talking about. And they would want to go talk to, an older person than myself. And I felt like I always needed to get permission to do things. And with Toastmasters, I have found my own voice and figured out, okay, maybe I can do this. And I think that's something other millennials would really do well with, is being able to communicate with younger, older, everybody, and do it with authority.
Well said.
Well, Amanda May, another place where you've decided to take permission to exercise your voice is with your live stream podcast, Yes, You May. What motivated you to create that?
Well, that's another good story. I am a member of Stage Time University, which is Darren LaCroix's world champ of 2001, I believe. It's his university to learn to become a better speaker. When I did the competitions, I didn't do that great past the club level, and I wanted to get better at it. So I sought out training. And then Darren decided to do this 77-day video challenge where we went live on Facebook for 77 days in a row. He started at the beginning of the year, January 1st, and I saw his video and I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to do this now. I started to do it, started to, give a life lesson every day on Facebook, and it evolved into the podcast, Yes, You May, with Amanda May Gray, where it's life advice. It's about giving permission, about being able to go after your own dreams and feeling confident to do so. So throughout that experience of forcing myself to go live and talk on camera with my own ideas, not with a script like I would normally do as an actress, I discovered that this was something that people enjoyed, and I enjoyed it as well. And now I get to interview other people and have them come on and share their ideas, and we can all, build up our self-confidence together.
And for folks who are listening, that's Yes, You May. That's MAE.
Correct. Yes, that's a good point.
Did you make it through all 77 days?
I did indeed. I did.
Wow.
Yes. Some people, like Darren himself, are still going. And I was like, I'm good. I'm a girl. I gotta get myself ready to get on camera every day, Darren. That's a lot.
I think Darren recharges. He has solar batteries that are recharged with the sun from Las Vegas, so he can continue. He goes.
He soaks it all in.
No, he's awesome. I was just thinking back in the intro, Ryan mentioned that you're an engagement expert. What does that mean?
So that's a weird saying. What does engagement expert mean? Oh, it means I have a lot of energy, first and foremost, and that comes across audio, visual, in person. I just can't help myself but get involved in things and try to get people to smile and laugh. I inherently, whether I realize it or not, am always trying to get people to smile. Even if it's going through a drive-through, I try to get the other person on the other end to smile or laugh or just say something nice to them to make their day. So it's something that I do naturally, that I figured out that I do. So now I can fine tune it and make it even more purposeful. So engagement expert means I come into a room, whether that's virtually, audio, in person, and I like to get the party going. You probably used to call it back in high school the party starter, right? The person who always had to get everybody involved and having a good time. And I've figured out how to do that in a more professional setting. Although I'm not always the most professional because I just can't help but make a joke from time to time. But it helps me get people to lean in and have a good time and to want to be there, to be interested in what's going on and not just, again, tune out.
You mentioned getting the party started in a room. What does that look like online?
Ooh, online. Well, music helps again, but also getting people physical. A lot of times we just sit, right? And we just stare at the camera, or we stare at the screen and look at our own selves and all the other people in the boxes. And that's kind of mundane. I like to get people physically moving, raising their hands physically, putting their hands up, stretch it out, standing up, sitting down, getting them to bop around and dance. I naturally always am dancing to music, whether it's playing out loud or just in my own head. And so it's easy to get other people to smile and kind of bop around to whatever the music might be as well. That's my key thing, is just getting that physicality that you normally don't see online.
Yeah, I think a lot of meetings can certainly use that, especially after your 5th or 6th meeting back to back in a row.
Yes, it makes a difference.
Amanda Mae, we have covered a lot of ground here today, from hosting events, participating in virtual events. We talked about your YouTube channel and creating videos and your engagement expertise. It is clear that you have a lot to offer. So let's talk for a moment about how listeners can connect with Amanda Mae Gray. Can you share with us, where can we catch your live stream podcast, and where else can listeners connect with you online?
Absolutely. So everything is under my full name, Amanda Mae Gray, and that's Maegray. And that's where you find me on YouTube. You find me on Facebook, LinkedIn. Let's see, where else am I? TikTok, Instagram, all the things, all the places. And then my website is www.amandamaegray.com. Again, the Maegray. And those are the best places you can connect with me. But you'll find all the videos, including the podcast, all on YouTube. My own podcast, of course, is on all the podcast channels, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find them. And I'd love to have you come let me know what you think.
Thank you very much, Amanda. And folks, if you enjoyed this podcast, please take the time to share it with others. You can find the Toastmasters podcast at toastmasterspodcast.com, toastmasters.org, on all of your favorite channels as well. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc.
Amanda Mae Gray, we appreciate the content that you're producing. It's super helpful. You cover the gamut, so please keep it up. And thanks so much for joining us on the Toastmasters podcast today. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Greg, for having me. I appreciate coming on and love the show. Happy to be here. Happy to help out however I can.
Amanda Mae Gray, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure is mine.
Isn't it about time you published that book you've been thinking about? We can help with that. At ebookit.com, we've been providing authors and small presses with ebook publishing services since 2010. Visit us today at ebookit.com and let us know how we can help you.